counterpart. You had him over for dinner at your house.
Yeah,
you're known as one of the better chefs in official Washington. Did you cook? What did you make?
I did cook. But it was our first official meeting. I invited him to the United States to share perspectives on what was happening, and I invited him over to dinner, and then read that he only liked Chinese food, and I only cook Italian food. So I thought, okay, well, this is a diplomatic challenge. So I made leek and fennel risotto, which I thought was probably a good compromise between the cuisine and and his love of Chinese food.
High stakes dinner table diplomacy.
It was, in the end of the day, personal relationships only go so far, but they are important in terms of building the level of trust that each side is telling the other what is possible. It happened in the last administration. The president pulled out of Paris. Now his advisors are talking about not just pulling out of the Paris Agreement, pulling out of the overall framework. We're obviously in a period of competition across a range of issues, but particularly in this clean energy space. But we also need to find ways that we can at least understand where each side's going, and I think the world's looking to us to find ways where we can work together where we can, like in these non-CO2 spaces, to do so. In passing the biggest investment in climate change and clean energy in the history of the United States. But we have a challenge where it's not just billions or even hundreds of billions of dollars of need that's out there. We need to mobilize trillions of dollars to transform the global economy from one that's running on polluting fossil fuels to one that's running on clean energy. CARE Act, which was, started off unpopular, and as people felt the right has kind of demonized electric vehicles, but not the whole clean tech sector more broadly. And even there, you're still seeing, while you see higher participation and sales volumes in sort of bluer places, you're still seeing growth in very red America in electric vehicles. So we're seeing continued momentum. It's maybe not quite as fast as people anticipated, but it's very strong, very forward moving, and I think the companies are fully committed to that transition to electrification. Why this is so important is because that is now the highest emitting sector. So if you care about the climate, you've got to find a way to reduce the emissions, particularly from the transportation sector, and those incentives combined with new rules that came from the EPA, the transportation and energy departments. The level of trust that each side is telling the other what. I think we have to continue that dialogue, but there's no question that we're now in a fierce competition, particularly in these clean technologies, where really the result, I think, of the Chinese strategy coming out of COVID, and with the somewhat because of the collapse of their housing sector, they're executing an export-led and effort to build up these industries in ways that are not competitive, that are anti-competitive, that are using non-market mechanisms to build up their winners. In the meantime, we're trying to innovate and invest, and we need to protect that innovation and that investment. So we're in a period of some friction and competition. To do at COP29, which will be in Baku later this year in Azerbaijan,